Hello, everyone. Here we are on the second episode of Unfiltered Intuition. I'm very excited to bring on the guests that we have on this week. Without any further ado, let me introduce you guys to this week's guest. I have Hunter Henderson with me here today.
Hey,
Hunter,
guys.
thank you so much for stopping by the studio.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. This was definitely a much-needed sit-down, and I feel like one that a lot of people will be able to learn from and benefit from.
Sure.
Hunter, how long ago did we meet?
I'd probably say about 4 or 5 weeks ago at 5 a.m. at Crunch Fitness in Dearborn.
5 a.m. at Crunch Fitness in Dearborn. How did that conversation go? I believe that first day that I met you was probably the first week that I decided to go on my physical journey, and I thought that the best step the first best step to take with that was to be able to discipline myself to wake up at 5 a.m. and to go to the gym, start my day off by going to the gym. And you're one of the first people I met in there. And in a matter of 2 minutes or so, I walked into that sauna. We didn't even know each other's names. And within a matter of 2 minutes, we had a very content-filled conversation. Not your basic, hey, how are you?
Correct.
What were some of the things that we talked about?
So now I do also just want to keep in mind this is at 5 a.m. in the morning. A lot of people usually don't have that type of conversation or discussion at 5 a.m. in the morning, especially because people are so tired. They're doing a lot of different things the day prior, so it was already a very difficult conversation to sort of kind of initiate. But once the conversation was initiated, things were such an even flow. I always thought that it was extremely important just to be able to voice a lot of the things that you go through as an individual. I think that a lot of people really don't get that real, chance or that real opportunity to voice their thoughts, to voice everything that they go through. But like I said, it was early. Spirituality was the main subject. I think that it was extremely profound because you really don't find a lot of people who are spiritually informed. A lot of people live life on different levels, so it's not really an easy concept to really understand until you sort of kind of live it. But that conversation for sure had opened up my eyes. I never really had that type of conversation with somebody from a different race. It was so new. I was just extremely thankful that I could have that type of profound conversation with somebody who was not only like-minded, but someone who's, trying to attain the same type of spiritual goals as I am.
Speaking about spiritually, after we had that conversation, we exchanged phone numbers, and a major thing that I thought about when I first met you, although I didn't know you too much on a personal level, I knew that in order to be able to have that type of conversation with someone, the person on the other side of the conversation has to have been through a lot in life. We talked a little bit about your upbringing on our way to the studio. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, the way you grew up, and just give them a little bit of background on how you got to this point in your journey.
Sure. So the very first thing that I want to say is I want people to be cognizant of the simple fact that I don't have anything to hide, for one. Mm-hmm. I really do believe that a lot of people tend to tell stories or expose themselves in certain type of atmospheres in order to benefit in the wrong ways, and I don't. I want my life to sort of kind of be out there. I want for people to know what I've gone through, so similar people who've gone through the same thing can know and want more. But my name is Hunter Henderson. I love going to the gym at 5 a.m., and I'm from Schoolcraft, which is a street in Detroit off of Southfield. My parents, they raised me extremely well. I was brought up in the Christian sort of type of atmosphere. My father, he was a pastor, is still a pastor and an elder, and my mom, she's an educator. My father is also a CEO of a logistics company out in Van Buren Township called AEL Span. Both of my parents are probably some of the most experienced, mature, level-headed, like down-to-earth people that I've ever met in my life. After about the age of 12 or 13, I really just started to broaden out as far as living in different cities, living in different environments that I wasn't really that accustomed to. behaving in ways that I really wasn't accustomed to, and actually learning from that. Sure.
Real quick though, I want to touch base a little bit more on where you grew up. You said Schoolcraft and
Southfield. That's on the west side of Detroit. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty rough area. If you've ever been to the west side of Detroit, it's not really an area that I would want for certain people to live. It's very tough. It's even tough for people to go up to the gas station or to do pretty convenient, regular things. And I feel like that the wrong individual could most definitely not make it
in that environment.
Correct.
I'm a little bit familiar with that environment, although I wasn't raised there. Like I mentioned to you on our drive here, I did plenty of gas station jobs in the area of Detroit, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because things do come around full circle. One of the things that I wouldn't necessarily say struggled with having those jobs, but something that I encountered and seen pretty often was the disconnect between the Arabic community, who predominantly did run the businesses in the area,
correct,
and the African American community, who were the consumers, who funded the business. Regardless of the fact that there is an exchange of goods, we relied heavily on that community to keep those businesses alive. And even with that being said, it was unfortunate that there was a major disconnect, like I said, whether it was people on the opposite side of the glass, people who lived in the community, finding themselves in situations that they shouldn't be in because of the fact that the person on the other side of the counter treated them with a lack of respect. There was always this major disconnect between the African American community and the Arabic community. This conversation right here hopefully will bring light and will help bridge that gap. It's just very important to show people that here we are, two major minorities having a genuine conversation about the things that we not only have in common, but some of the differences that we have as well.
Correct.
But I just wanted to interject and say that real quick on my experience in being in the environment that you grew up in.
Sure.
Continue on with me though.
Sure. So I guess the next step is where I sort of kind of found my love for the gym, because that's most definitely where a lot of this starts, even my path towards spirituality.
A lot of it has to do with
the gym. But just to sort of kind of back just a little bit, I just want to be totally transparent. I was in a lot of situations, due to my own ignorance, due to my own decisions, due to my own whatever, I have experienced homelessness. I have experienced jail. I have experienced disease. I have experienced things that I don't think that the average Joe would be able to come out on top. Mm-hmm. The only reason why I was able to make it is because of my parents. And I know that a lot of people are like, man, I made it because of me, or, I'm tough and I had to. No, literally the only reason I made it was because of my parents.
I'm so glad that you bring that up, because same thing applies to me too, man. I think that having a supportive family, whether that's through your parents, some people are not blessed with that, and I feel like that's something that we both have in common. The fact that we have caring parents who constantly put in an effort to try to make sure that you're in the best position possible in life, even just by the means that they had. That doesn't mean our parents were rich or our parents had the luxury of giving us everything that we wanted, but that goes back to what you said about love. Just knowing that you have that love from your parents definitely goes a long way. So this does put us at a certain advantage than other people who grew up without loving parents. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Elaborate a little bit on how much that did for you, knowing that you had a supportive family structure and parents who loved you. And I noticed that right before the podcast, you actually made a phone call to your father. That's a blessing, dude. And I'm very happy to see that you have that type of relationship with your dad. Tell me a little bit about how much it's done for you.
Sure, I would love to. So like I sort of kind of already started off by saying, my dad, he was a diehard Christian. He's very intellectual about the teachings of God, the lessons of Jesus Christ. And without Christianity, I don't think that I would have been able to have such a firm, strict foundation as far as spirituality. Spirituality isn't just something that you pick up a book and you're able to understand it. Usually people who've lived a pretty religious life sort of kind of turn to spirituality as a way to help them even more, or as a way to explain what it is that they're going through as far as their suffering or frustrations. And with my parents, they were both, I almost don't even want to call them Christian, because I believe they're extremely spiritual as well. Without those qualities and without those lessons, like I said before, I would not have made it. Love, I honestly believe that I got taught the most honest lessons of love from my parents, about how unselfish love has to be, how unconditional love is truly. A lot of people have these preconceived notions that love is transactional, or love is something that should be paid for or exchanged for this, when true love, you may often receive nothing in return. And I had to learn that at a very young age, from me breaking my mother's heart, breaking my sister's heart, breaking my father's heart, doing things that I knew for a fact wasn't aligned with who I truly was. I had to learn that. And you know, I've never had such a successful like perspective of love. Every time I look out in the world, love is always. It seems like there's always
it's a superficial type.
It's
of love.
Extremely superficial. It's almost like you can go to the grocery store and you can purchase a box of love, and if I can purchase love, I don't want it. And if you want to be honest, I really, a lot of people really want to live life without it, and it's perfectly plausible. You can, but the older that I get, the more that I go through situations that I by myself can't tame, I always figure out that towards the end, love is usually the only thing that's able to save people. And it's not the best thing to hear, especially a quote unquote young nigga being from Detroit, because a lot of us, we can't survive off of love. Love is often a trait that people show in order to get something, especially predominantly in the city. It's always transactional. It's always, well, it depends on, it's always beneficiary. It's never, I love you for who you are, and that's it.
For the sake of God.
For the sake of God, yeah.
That's a very well-known form of love that is expressed very much in the Islamic religion as well, is that you're taught to do things for the sake of God. Mm-hmm. You don't do things expecting something in return, you know, whether that means helping a friend out, whether that means being there for someone, maybe even helping them out of a little slump they're in, whether that means you're helping them mentally or you're helping them financially. Mm-hmm. You do things for the sake of God, and you expect these people, to a certain extent, you do expect these people to appreciate you for the help that you've given them.
Unfortunately, that's not love.
100%. That's what I was gonna say. You shouldn't be surprised when you don't receive it in return. You know what I mean? You do it for the sake of God. One thing I really, really wanted to talk about, sure, and not the main reason, but one of the big reasons why I wanted to bring you on here is, I feel like you as a person have grown so much, and that growth did not come easy. It came on the other side of a lot of hardship, a lot of adversity, a lot of very trying times. Like I noticed, I do follow you on Instagram, and there was this one post that you posted a couple of days ago. It started in the nature of, I've built myself brick by brick. Elaborate on that from the very first brick. Like, I want you to talk a little bit about how you're able to make it onto the other side. A lot of people, I feel like, once they go through a lot in life and a lot of these trying times and a lot of the adversity that we're talking about, it's the easier thing to just throw in the towel and accept the terms of your life and to feel like this is the way the rest of my life will be. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of swallowing your pride, if not throwing it totally to the gutter, mm-hmm, in order to come out on the other side. You know, like there's this one phrase that I love to say to anyone who tells me, man, yeah, I had to start all over again. Listen, there's no shame in starting from zero. The only shame is staying at zero and putting in no effort or action, trying to change your circumstances. Mm-hmm. Basically, why I bring that all up is I want you to elaborate a little bit on maybe some of the trying times and what it took in order for you to make it to this to this stage that you're at right now. I'm sure you're not exactly where you want to be, but we're all a work in progress. But I feel like you have that mental clarity that people yearn for. And without that mental clarity, I feel like it's a major factor that prevents people from tapping into their true potential. And that mental clarity is something that you need to have in order to find what people like to say, your purpose.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you were able to transition from the dark times that you say. What was that one thing that you said about people living a life of hell here on earth?
Oh, you get comfortable. It starts to become you. It starts to, first off, it starts in your brain. You live in the darkness for so long that you believe that it's normal. You live in the darkness for so long that you believe that it's okay. And you forget that there are other ways of life. There are other people. There are other avenues in which you could live that can make you happier. When I was homeless and when I was going through and I call it the dark night of the soul. My dark night of the soul phase was about 3 years. 4 years actually, in which I was going in and out of jail, disappointing my parents, being sick, drugs, addiction, fighting infidelity. There were a lot of things that I was battling, even things that I didn't even explain to my parents. And I think that as an individual, it's really easy to sort of kind of give up, throw in the towel. It's extremely easy because I've thought about it. But if you want to be honest, like the only thing that's kept me going, and I know that a lot of people say my friends or my girlfriend or even their parents, I can't say that. The only thing that has kept me going is my faith in God. And I know that people hear that and they're like, man, you don't know what you're talking about,
Such
man.
a cliche term.
Man, it's like a cliche, but
people don't understand the true meaning of that phrase until they have no choice but to live by that phrase.
It's so funny, man. I remember I was actually working at this job in Wixom. I was in the midst of being on probation. I was working at this job in Wixom. It was called Blade Industrial. I was in and out of my mother and my father's house. And I was sick. I was really sick in my stomach. And I was going through a lot of like crazy stuff in my stomach because of my drug addiction that I had previously accrued. When I tell you that I didn't have no hospital, I didn't have no mama, I didn't have no daddy, I didn't have no sister, I didn't have no butler, I didn't have I didn't have nothing. I had nothing. I was living in my car. I went into the work, Blade Industrial. I was already feeling really bad. And I went inside of work, man, I had my food. And I went inside the bathroom. I was feeling so messed up. And I started to cry. Now, I'm really not a fan of crying, but I don't like holding back tears. And when I tell you that I prayed to God and I was like, God, if you could take this away from me, if you could take this addiction away from me, if you could take this darkness, this dark cloud, because it was a dark cloud and it followed me everywhere I went.
It consumed
me. My parents will even tell you they didn't recognize me. They didn't even recognize myself. And I went to the bathroom and I went on you ever watching those movies where somebody's in the corner, man, and something had happened and they're crying and their back is against the wall and they slowly go down on the floor?
Yeah.
That's how I was, bro. I was bawling. I was begging, and I don't beg at all. I was begging. I was like, God, please, if you could take this addiction out of my mind, if you could turn the tables, if you could. And from that moment, I can unequivocally remember it just like it was yesterday. That's how serious it was. And from that moment on, my health started to improve. I started to regain the trust from my parents. I started to have honest, loving friends instead of fame and people who didn't even really know me. They just liked me for me. I started experiencing divinity in the most purest form. And that's tangible, like
real life results.
Progress, yes. Yeah. And I saw that. I was like, man, I can't believe he took me out of it. And I was like, I wonder if I keep praying. I wonder if I stay on the path that I'm on. I wonder how far I could take it. This was 6 years ago.
Wow, man.
So
that's when you feel like the tables really turned for you.
The tables turned.
6 years ago. You were 20 years old, you said at the time?
Correct. 19, 20, yep.
And, I did tell you about how I would be interjecting in things that I could relate to as well, man. And I must tell you, dude, maybe my trials weren't as physically serious as yours, but I feel like the biggest trials and the biggest tests are in the mind.
Mm.
Those kinds of battles are, you could, even if you're not homeless, your mind will make you feel like you're homeless. Even if you're not unhealthy, your mind will make you feel like you're unhealthy. And dude, I had growing up, I was a very personable person, very social, very charismatic for a little kid,
Sure.
And then somewhere along the lines of 26 now, somewhere along the lines of 22, 23, I fell into this slump. I don't know exactly what triggered that slump. It was a lead up of events. I fell into a major mental slump, dude, where, like I said, even if you're not unhealthy, your mind will make you feel like you're unhealthy. Even though you're not poor, your mind will make you feel like you are. And that is the trial that I feel like everyone faces in one way or the other. And it's one that if you're not able to overcome,
you will not win.
You will not win, and it will destroy
you. It will
you.
destroy you.
It will destroy you. And the reason why I bring this up, man, is you said we're both very spiritual people. We follow different religions, but the results, to a certain extent, are the same.
Are the same.
Because of the fact that in order for me to get out of that slump that I'm talking about, it took God, dude. I just got to a point where I was so fed up with the way my life was going and the lack of results I was getting in my life, whether that's, physically, career-wise, financially, all aspects, just so fed up with it. And I knew it wasn't because of the fact that the opportunities weren't there. And like I said, I decided to make that change, and that change started with God as well, dude. We as Muslims pray 5 times a day. I was slacking on my prayers, People call you religious for praying 5 times a day.
Do they?
They call you religious when it's you're doing the bare minimum.
Right, exactly.
It's a requirement. It's literally the bare minimum.
Sure.
And I made the commitment to, that's the toughest prayer in the day, by the way, is the one that is early in the morning. At the time that I met you, with the time change, it goes back an hour or forward an hour. But the first prayer of the day is at 6 a.m. I never used to wake up for that prayer, by the way. So I took it upon myself. All right, starting tomorrow, I'm going to wake up at 4:30 a.m. I'm going to go hit the gym. That's where I met you. Shower over there, get dressed, go to the mosque and pray at 6 a.m. for that first prayer. And dude, I swear to God, people that know me prior to this, they'll tell you, they ask me like, dude, how did that flips? How did what initiated that flip? I tell them, listen, man, first and foremost, I attribute it all to God, man. I took it upon myself to wake up early in the morning, start my day on a positive note, and I feel like that's critical. The way that you start your day is critical, and I'm sure that goes into why you decide to go to the gym at 5 a.m.
Every morning, I don't even think that my father even really knows this, but so when I was very young, my father, he used to try to he used to sort of kind of make me and my sister remember prayers by heart. And there's a couple prayers that I will always remember until the day I leave this earth. And people don't really know this, but every single morning I wake up, even before I go to the gym, every single morning I wake up, I say the Lord's Prayer. Like, not when I have time, not, if I'm bored and I need something to do. As soon as my eyes open up and my legs are able to touch the floor,
You make it a point.
I have to. I literally have to. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me lie down in green pastures, leading me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He lead me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yeah, do all of that. I do it profusely.
And you feel like that's done so much for you.
I can only. The proof is in the pudding.
And the results that it's giving
the proof is in the pudding.
100%. And that's considering that we're on the subject of religion.
Sure.
I'm a devout Muslim that comes from a very devout family of Muslims. You are a devout Christian who also comes from a family of very devout Christians.
Correct.
And here we are being able to relate to each other in terms of the results that spirituality has given us, even, putting aside the fact that you're Christian and I'm Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? At the end of the day, man, God is one. You agree with me?
I totally agree. It
doesn't matter that one person is a Christian and the other person is Muslim. That doesn't mean that they're praying to different gods.
Sure doesn't.
And one thing that I always took upon myself, dude, was to not allow myself to go too much into the semantics of religion and the differences that we have in the way that we practice our religion to prevent us from actually having these kind of conversations, and to prove that, like, our results over here, dude, are results that are proof that God is one. Mm-hmm. You have been through some of the hardest times in your life, some of the most trying times in your life, and what you attribute it all to was the fact that you got good with God again, mm-hmm. for lack of better terms.
Yep.
I tell you the same thing. Does that mean that? I mean, that is proof right there that God is one, dude. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that, man. How do you feel about the differences in the way that people practice their religion? For me personally, I look at it like this. You were born into a family of devout Christians, correct?
Correct.
And you grew up knowing that is your connection with God, is through Christianity.
Correct.
I, on the other hand, grew up in a family of devout Muslims, mm-hmm. who also knew that our only connection to God was through that religion. I feel like if our roles were reversed and you were born into my family, mm-hmm. and I was born into your family,
same thing would have been done.
Same thing would have been done, man. I would have been a spiritual Christian. You would have been a spiritual Muslim. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying?
Perfect example, yeah.
So I say that to elaborate and to show people that people are born into a lot of circumstances that they're in. The results end up being the same if it's sincere. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, having a debate over religion is a debate that I personally am not ready to have over the semantics of religion, and sometimes it's not even that necessary.
It's not. If you want to be honest, I've gotten into conversations with people about religion, and you could sort of kind of tell the direction, mm-hmm. as far as like the direction of the conversation where it's going to lead to, and you can always make the decision to cease and omit words from that conversation, because a lot of people, what I do understand and what I do see as far as like people's perception of life is perception is like a lock. Mm-hmm. It's like a Ace Hardware lock, and if you don't have a key, people will literally refuse to see things from your perspective. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're ignorant, but it most definitely means that they're not really open-minded. And that's okay. I know that people are like, man, I hate the fact that you're like this and you shouldn't be like this. People are like who they are for very specific reasons. People come into this world and think some of the things that they think for very specific reasons. We are right here for a very specific reason, you know?
I definitely agree, man. And trailing on that point that you just made, dude,
sure.
You're my second guest on this podcast. And it's not because of a lack of me knowing people and people bringing on to come on the podcast, but with you, I felt like we would be able to have a really thorough, genuine conversation that bridges the gap, dude. Because whether people like to acknowledge it or not, there is a major gap between
Muslim and black people.
Yes,
100%. If you want to be honest, I never really understood why. Like, we previously talked about the prophets and how similar the prophets are, how similar their goals as far as attaining divinity and spreading it throughout the world is similar. I mean, Muhammad and Moses both start with M's. Like, so it's like, it's really difficult to get people to understand it, man. And it's really discouraging whenever you come across somebody who you, like, definitively believe that you can, like, persuade. But you're not meant to persuade everybody. And that's the really hard thing about being a divine worker or a light worker or even a religious person. Like, religion is not a concept that you force feed people. It's something that you spoon feed them day in and day out. And you spoon feed them. And I think that a lot of people mess up in that aspect. Mm-hmm.
And it's something, like you said, you don't force feed them. I feel like the best way to show people that your spiritual path or your religion is a good one is through your actions. You get what I'm saying? What's the point of being a devout religious Muslim
if can't nobody see it?
If no, that's one. And the way that you treat other non-Muslims is much different than the way that you treat regular Muslims. How do you expect a non-Muslim to look at you and accept your message if you're not treating them with genuine respect and being open to their views and understand that these views, just as much as your views, your religious views are instilled in you, they're also instilled in this person as well. So, like you said, it's not something to force feed people. And this change that me and you both went through, I feel like is something that everyone has to go through on their own pace. You know, this podcast and the message that we're trying to deliver can only do so much. Maybe it can help influence you to accelerate your journey and possibly getting there sooner. But unless there's a change from within, and you decide and you commit to making that change from within, no change will come. There's a verse in the Quran that says, God will not change humanity unless the human decides to make the change from within first. Basically, it translates to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Wow, that's tough.
You get what I'm saying? And that goes with treating people with respect and with dignity, even though they have conflicting views than yours. Try to find the common ground first before you start speaking on the things that you guys have differences on. Exactly. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of the viewers seen the public segment of this podcast, and the first person that I had on there was an openly gay gentleman.
I remember I saw that too.
And on the insights of that post, like I mentioned to you on our drive here, there was about 75 shares of that post. And I know that half of those shares are from people who are looking at it like, look at this dude, Abdullah, this quote unquote, what is he doing putting a gay dude on front and center of his podcast? Listen, the reason why I did that was first and foremost to show people that this podcast is extremely inclusive. I'm not limiting the message to my own community, to my own people. I feel like there's so much more potential in this project than just trying to influence the people who already have their mind made up to a certain extent.
You know why I really like what you're doing?
Talk to me.
Because a lot of people have these type of podcasts and do exactly what you just said. They go inside of the city that they live in, or they limit it to the area that they're from, and you really only see other versions of that person. It's not really beneficial to the people who are listening because there is no variety. There is no differences of demographics that you can actually correlate and put together and say, wow, this is from here and this is from here, but they're similar. And I really like that. I think that's what had attracted me to this opportunity. It was non-biased, non-racial, whatever. Yeah, it was just straight
real stuff. It's human. In my intro post, that's exactly what I said. I said that man, woman, old, young, this message is meant for all. This project is meant for everyone. I don't want to curate it to a specific community. And the reason why is not because of the fact that I want to branch out this project, but because of the fact that I know us as humans, man, we all, at the end of the day, have the same goals. Nobody wants to be a failure in life.
Nobody. And if you do, you might need to put on another pair of shoes.
100. Generally speaking, though, nobody wants to be a failure in life. Nobody wants to be a drug addict.
Sure.
Nobody wants to be homeless.
I agree.
Nobody wants to be spiritually broken. And I feel like at the end of the day, we're all on a journey to be content with ourselves. And with as simple as that sounds, that comes with a lot of baggage that you have to unpack, sort through.
That was good. I'm not gonna lie, bro. That was really good. I'm not gonna lie. That was
it's the
a
truth,
lot of people.
Man. And I know by default we want to be successful and not successful by the terms of society. When a lot of people say successful, the first thing that they come to assume and think about,
money.
Yes,
money this, money that. I need money.
And hear me out, dude. How are some of the most successful?
Hey, man, I'm gonna tell you something that I used to tell people all the time. I used to watch the news all the time, but I don't. But And I used to listen to celebrities when they would tell me about like their drug addiction, or they would tell me about certain things that these are people living in $2.5 million mansions. These are people that got 6 Bugattis in their driveway. These are people that
never have to worry about a bill.
Never have to worry about insurance, a bill, or nothing. These are people who have everything that you're chasing.
Some of the most broken people.
And they are some of the most One of my favorite actors, he passed away like a year or so ago. One of my most favorite actors, man. I remember him from when I was a kid.
Robin Williams?
I don't know how the HE double hockey sticks that you knew, but that man was a superb individual. Mm-hmm. And for somebody who can make the whole world laugh and commit suicide, what does that tell you? Man, I was just about to, what does that really tell you? Is money and success and fame everything? Because as soon as you get that, you're going to be looking for something to fill that void, and everything that you have is not
enough to fill that void.
It's not enough. And the only choice that you have left, and I'm not saying that this is an appropriate choice for anybody, but the only choice that you will be able to see is to leave this bitch.
And under horrible circumstances.
Under the worst. I know for a fact he would have never thought that he would have been in the situations that he's in. He's a stupendous actor, from Jumanji, from Up, from all types of movies that he's acted in and produced. And this is somebody who has not a worry in the world, as far as we could see.
It's exactly what I was going to say, man. For as much as we know, this person is extremely happy, extremely joyous, has everything that he wants in life. Why would he ever want to commit suicide? But you don't know what's going inside the mind of a man, or inside the mind of any human, for that matter. Mm-hmm. And by saying this, I'm not trying to tell people not to pursue financial freedom. But you have to have your priorities set straight. Like, there were so many times in my life where I feel like I was this close to breaking that financial freedom aspect of things.
Sure.
And we were just talking about God. For one reason or the other, and now that I look back at it in hindsight, it's from the love that God had for me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. He didn't allow me to break that barrier yet, because I know for a fact there were other things that I had to touch and perfect on first. I know that during the times where I thought that I was, like I said, this close to breaking a financial barrier that would set me for life, it was taken away for a good reason, because I know the kind of person I was at that time. I was, I wouldn't say very egotistical, but my ego was huge. My connection with God wasn't really there. And I know that if I was given that at the time, I would have felt like I didn't need God.
You would have messed it up. You would have messed it all up.
You get what I'm saying, dude?
Trust me, I've had a couple opportunities where I could have had a lot of money, and it's weird too. These are opportunities that I'm older now, and I've sort of kind of like learned a lot as far as life, as far as spirituality. There are moments where I will still say, you know what, I'm not ready for all of that money. I'm not ready for all of that credit. I'm not ready. And, you know, for a lot of people, they're all like, man, what? You can get a new house with that. You can get a new car with that. What I'm going to do with that?
If you don't have,
if I don't have
with yourself.
Exactly. If I don't have spiritual longevity and mental clarity, what is that stuff going to do for me but distract me from my real true goal? And if you want to be honest, as soon as I focused on my real true goal, that's when I started attracting everything that I wanted. Everything. And even the bad stuff, like the promiscuous married women, or, you know, the drugs that are still trying to persuade me, or people even, you know?
That's a great point that you made there, bro, because same thing applies for me. Touche. Because of the fact that
we are so much alike, it's kind of scary.
It is kind of scary, dude.
It is kind of scary.
And when I made that spiritual transition, dude, swear to God, everything changed. Like, this project over here is something that I wouldn't say I had in mind for the past 4 or 5 years, but it's in the realm of things that I've always kind of wanted to do. But because of the place I was in mentally, I was never able to bring it into fruition and bring it into life, because of the fact that this is just a small example.
Really?
My relationships with my father, dude. My dad. A lot of people would say they take a beating, or that they would take being scolded over being beaten any day. But the relationship I had with my dad, great one. I love my father. I love my father. He raised 10 kids.
Jeez.
First generation immigrant, came to this country in the 70s with little to no money in his pocket.
Wow.
And had the burden of not only providing for me and my siblings, but for a lot of people back home as well. So I understand why he raised me the way that I did. I understand that I gave him a tough time too, man. And if he treated the behaviors that I exhibited, whether that is in school or outside of school, with love, at that time I would have taken advantage of it and been like, yeah, I could do whatever the hell I want. He's still gonna love me.
So can I ask you a question?
Please do.
Now that you're older and you have like a little bit like better knowledge of life and God and spirituality, something that I do struggle with even right now, and I'm gonna be totally honest with you, is the decision on ignorance being bliss or the version of myself now. Because back then when I was ignorant, I may have been ignorant, but I was having a lot of fun. And obviously it's the perspective of me having fun is relative, but I was having a lot of fun, doing a lot of shit that I enjoyed. I didn't know, obviously, and I call that ignorance being bliss. But when I got older and I sort of kind of got into that other phase of my life, I got intellectually enlightened. And if you want to be totally honest, because I'm a person of total transparency to the very point. I don't care if it hurts your feelings or my feelings. Say it to me and I'll say it to you.
I'm the same way, dude. Ever since I was a kid.
Like,
hold that thought for a second.
Like, yeah. Go
my
ahead.
preschool teacher wrote on my progress report. You know, they give this to you after high school and you see all this stuff. She wrote down, Abdullah often says things that hurt people's feelings without knowing that he does. And I'm like, some things are just ingrained in you, man.
If you want to be honest, that's actually a good trait to have, because that means that you're not so focused on how you're sounding and what you're saying. You're just focused on getting it out. And as a leader, that's a very significant trait to have. It is.
Continue, though. I just had to interject and say that real quick. You were talking about being between having a lot of fun and being ignorant to the harm that it caused, and now being intellectually enlightened and probably not having as much fun as you used to.
Nowhere near. I want to be honest. It's not a struggle, but it's a decision that you can't help but notice that you got to make. It's really like that type of decision where, wow, I was really having a lot of fun being around a lot of people that may not have been good for me, putting a lot of stuff in my body, may not have been good for me, but I was just having a blast. And then you get older and you sort of kind of know how the world works and know how things work. And it's like, it's obviously less fun, but
it comes with being responsible.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It does.
Tell me, what were the results that fun gave you in your life, dude?
Woo!
What long-term results did they give you? They put you in a position where I feel like put you in that dark place that you're talking about.
Yes. Put me in the hospital, put me on the corner, put me 6 months inside of a car that I was living in. Oh, this is a very significant part that I wanted to tell you too, as of why I started out of the gym. When I started to work out in the gym, it wasn't really you know how a lot of people say, like, man, I started out, I had all these demons and stuff like that. That's, sorry to say, that's not how I started out. I'm gonna just be totally honest. I actually started out because I needed a shower.
Damn, bro.
And I know to a lot of people, that's like, damn, that's really vague and simplistic, but I needed a shower. And then I started picking up weights. And then I started lifting weights. And then I started noticing my body altering from the weights. Then I was like, wow, if I do this with that, if I'm doing this with that, then if I'm doing this with the squat rack, I wonder. And slowly but surely, every single time that I went in the shower, I got out the shower and I was about to go back to work, but instead I wouldn't even go back to work. I would just spend an hour or two in the gym, miss a whole 10-hour shift. Like, I would sacrifice a lot of things for the gym. So the gym is literally a place where I found sanctuary, where I found God. I was always religious, but I wasn't always vigilant of God. This was a time in my life where, yes, I was religious, but this time I could see him unequivocally. I could see his presence. I could feel his touch. I could see his breath. I could see it. I know it sounds crazy, but I could see it. And ever since then, like, My perception of the Lord Jesus Christ has not changed. My perception of divinity in itself has not changed at all. And I really want for people who are, you know what I'm saying, because I love this whole thing that you got going on, because I don't think that a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are very scared. But what if anybody was to get anything out of anything that I'm saying is that during your most darkest times, and I have put this on my page either this morning or yesterday morning.
Talk about it, please.
During your most darkest times, during the worst travesties that you'll ever have throughout your life, you'll only be met with certain decisions. Only certain ones.
What are some of the decisions that?
And for me, I was met with two decisions. Continue living life the way that I was living, even though I saw where it was going to take me, or readjust my mind and my body and my soul to live a better life so that not only I could benefit from it, but so the people around me could benefit. And it's not, you won't see it.
It's an invisible
curtain. It's
definitely
invisible.
Curtain.
You know how people be all like, yeah, God, he gave you this and he only gave it to you because he wants you to do it. He gave it to you for a reason. He did. He gave it to you for a reason. He didn't give it to your mama. He didn't give it to your dad. He didn't give you that perspective for anybody else. He gave it to you and said, this is the beginning.
For you.
Yep, for you.
And to elaborate on that a little bit more, bro, our religions are very much alike. We touched base on that a little bit too. There's a verse in the Quran that says God will not burden a person beyond what they can beyond what they can like handle or something like that. Yes.
It's so funny that you say that, because I hear of that saying in the Bible all the time. He calls it, he won't give you a battle that you can't handle.
Tit, tat, tat,
literally the same thing.
Same thing.
That's why I'm really confused. Like when Arabic individuals, I don't say Arab, I say Arab.
I appreciate that.
I just had to put that in there for sure.
For sure.
When Arabic people approach me and they're trying to sort of kind of getting me to understand certain things, the very first thing that I'm looking for isn't even in their words or in their discussion, but is intention. What is your intention in telling me this? Are you trying to persuade me of this so you could take advantage of me? Are you really trying to teach me something, or are you just boasting and you're not humble and you want people to know what you know? And I always find myself having conversations with Arabic people at the end, and they don't have anything to say.
I get
after
what you're
I'm
saying.
done like explaining
to them your point of view.
Yes, and then I give them like factual
backings to your
whatever.
claims.
They're sitting there like a deer in headlights, not saying anything.
I think it's partially because of the fact that they weren't expecting it to be a two-ended conversation.
That's very,
you know.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't look like I know some of the stuff I know, and I'm gonna just go ahead and say that I don't.
That's not a proper statement.
No,
because I don't think so. Because you're taking credit away from yourself. You know what I mean by saying that you don't. What do you have to look like then?
I believe that for me. Or no, for people who like, they usually have some sort of like suit and tie, proper, hey, how are you? My name's Hunter. And like persona of a like pastor or a light worker. But me, I'm gonna talk to you just like this, and I'm gonna let you know what happened to me, and I'm gonna let you know how God saved me.
And that is the way you genuinely connect with people, man. When you become as raw as they are. You know what I mean? I feel like that approach that you're talking about actually is counterproductive. Because you're coming to someone and you're almost portraying and emitting the energy that I know more than you. I'm better. No. Like I said in the beginning of this conversation, first and foremost, you have to bridge the gap, show the similarities that you have amongst each other, and why my message has benefited me and why it can potentially benefit you as well. Rather than coming in a suit and tie, like you said, and being all uppity up, I feel like it sets off kind of the wrong image to a certain extent, because the person you're talking to might be dressed like me and you are, typical casual clothes.
Regular person.
And it kind of gives the message of that I'm better than you. Like, man, it's not about the way that you look, it's about what's inside of your mind. And anybody who I feel like ends up pursuing and is on this path to of spirituality or divinity, like you like to call it, has been through their fair share of adversities. There's this quote that I seen that says, "Smooth waters have never made a skilled sailor."
Ooh, I like that. Makes so much sense.
For you, dude, all the things that you've been through. Tell me, would you agree? Would you agree with me if I said that if you hadn't been through all the things that you've been through, the homelessness, the disease, that mental unclarity, which is so much more paralyzing, I feel like, than any other physical thing that can happen to you, dude. I feel like people who are paralyzed but have mental clarity are healthier than someone who's fully capable of walking but has no mental clarity. All these things that have happened to you, would you agree with me? Would you agree if I said that they are a major contributing factor into making you the type of person that you are now? And if those things didn't happen to you, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Correct. With no explanation, no.
Short and brief, correct.
Correct.
And I feel like God puts people in those circumstances for a reason. There's a silver lining in everything. I posted this post on Instagram a couple of days ago, if not last week. It was a Muslim preacher, and he was talking about God's plan for you. And somewhere along that, he said that if you had the power and the capability of tapping into the unknown, like, for example, all these things, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have been this, I could have been that. If you had the power of tapping into the unknown and seeing the unknown, you would have only chosen what God had chosen for you. And that includes all the adversities. That includes all the calamities. Happens for a reason. If you could tap into the unknown and see what your future would have been like if you did follow through on the things that you said, I could have this or I could have that, or followed through on this, the path that you were on, you would have only chosen what God has chosen for you. And he proceeded on to say that within those adversities and calamities comes a benefit that the mind cannot even comprehend.
Man, not until you see it. Because I didn't know that I was going to be here. 6 years ago, I thought I was going to either be dead or in jail, or dead or in prison. And that's real rap. I'm not talking about no jail for like a couple of years, in prison. I was about to do 10 to 4. For the crimes that I was committing, I just want to put this on record. For the stuff that I did, first off, I was on probation for 4 years. I was blessed and lucky enough to have a father in which he could actually provide me a lawyer. And even with the lawyer, I still did a year. But if I didn't have one, I would still be in prison right now, 10 to 14 years. 10 to 14, not no 2 or 5 or 6, 10 to 14 years. We wouldn't be having this discussion right now.
And that goes back to the beginning of the conversation about us being at an advantage, considering that we have fathers who are in our lives, man. Since you brought that up, let me tell the viewers a little bit about a story that pertains to me and my father, lawyer.
I would love to.
So this was probably 2020, right now. This was 2017, I believe. I was on, about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
Because now that it was longer than 4 years ago. It was probably 5 years ago. I was on my financial journey to like make money, buy a nice car, and I somewhat did that. After my dad gave me this proposition, he told me, listen, you're working a lot of hours, you're making a lot of money. I know that you're reckless with your money. I don't want any of your money, but I think it would be a great idea if you gave me $500 a week. I'll save it for you. Consider me your bank. And whenever you want it for something that you really want it for, the money's available to you at any time. I said, all right, that's cool. That sounds like a good idea, because I was reckless with my money.
All young people are.
So I started giving my dad $500 a week. Eventually, this is just a pre lead up to the story itself. Eventually, my superficial ass, found a Mercedes ML 500 that I wanted to buy.
Ooh.
Right? And dude, I fell in love with the car, I approached my dad. I believe the car costed me anywhere between 10 to 15 grand, and that's the amount of money that I had with my dad at the time. So I'm like, listen, Pops, I'm trying to buy me a nice car. What kind of car are you trying to buy? How much money you need out of the money you have saved? I'm like, all of it.
Wow.
Son, why are you making such a big purchase? What kind of car is it? I'm like, oh, it's a Mercedes ML 500. He's like, are you a doctor? Do you have like the maintenance on it is not going to be cheap, this, and that? I'm like, no, I want to do it. And because of the fact that he gave me his word that no matter what you need it for, I'll give it to you, he ended up giving me the money. I went out, I bought that car. Dude, within a week.
Crashed it.
I wish it was that simple.
I wish it was that simple,
dude.
What else happened?
I was showing it off to my boys, you know, and there's, Islamically speaking, a jinx is real. You know what a jinx is? When somebody sees something that you like or that you have, and they're so jealous of it, or that they envy it so much that they destroy that thing for you. Whether that is getting a baby, for example, and there's someone who is infertile, man, and they can't have a baby.
Or a relationship.
It applies to anything, but in this case in point, it applied to the car. Dude, so 1 week in with the car, mind you, I still had the owner's plate on the vehicle. I'm driving down 94 at about 8 in the morning. That morning, I was leaving the car. My mom told me in Arabic, today seems like something bad's going to happen. Please be safe, son. That irked my soul.
Mama knows best.
That irked my soul. So I'm literally driving and I'm expecting something to happen. And I'm on my toes. You know what I mean? I'm on my toes. Attentive is, and dude, I'm approaching 94 and the Grand River exit. Traffic was pretty free flowing up until that point. I let my guard down. My mom had baby some breakfast. I turn over to to the passenger seat to try to grab it. And as soon as I lift my head up, it's standstill traffic. I'm going, mind you, 50, 60 miles an hour.
Oh, no.
I slammed the brakes. Wasn't enough to prevent the car accident. I smashed into a car in front of me. The car in front of me smashed into a car in front of it. And, dude, at the time, I don't think I'm incriminating myself by saying this.
I hope not. Is everything off?
I don't think because it's in the past.
Yeah, it's in the past. Yeah, you're right.
I had things in the car that I shouldn't have had or illegal. So I decided in a split decision choice that it would have been a better idea for me to flee the scene.
That is not funny. It's not funny. I'm sorry.
No, hear me out. Remember how I said
it's not funny, but oh my gosh, really?
Standstill traffic, dude.
Bro.
So I'm trying to flee the scene. This lady gets behind me. I cut her off. The lady that I hit gets behind me. She's beeping, pull over, la-da-da.
She's chasing you?
Literally chasing me. I'm trying to make my way towards an exit, dude, right? I see her honking. I refuse to stop, so I stick my hand out the window and I'm telling her, write down the plate, do what you got to do. I'm not stopping. I lose her off an exit. Remember how I said she hit the car in front of her? That car in front of her starts chasing me, dude. And the car is a V8, by the way. It's a V8 engine, and that was the first time I was able to push it to its full ability. Dude, I start gunning it, running away. Man, I could go on and on about that.
Oh, my gosh.
I get off onto Grand River, finally lose that second car that was chasing me. He pops back up off of a side street, and I come face to face with him once again. I'm like, fuck. I get back onto 94, dude. This car is following me. Mind you, it's traffic, like I said. I get on the median. I'm gunning it on the median. Thank God. I don't know how there was no state cops or cops.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because you're doing a lot of...
Dude, I swear to God. Like, there's not one lie or exaggeration in this story.
I believe you. I'm
flying down the median. About 2-3 miles. I finally beat the standstill traffic. I lose the guy. This is all pre-lead up to. This is going back to your dad getting you out of a tough situation. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do, man. I hit up my brother. My brother has a property with an empty garage. I'm like, listen, bro, I'm not trying to catch the rap on this. I'm willing to toss the car. Keep it in your garage, bro, and find a way to sell it or get rid of it in a way that leaves me no attachment to it. One thing leads to the other. That's exactly my brother, by the way.
15,000 just out in a week?
Dude, my brother, by the way, is... I've been blessed to have one of an amazing family. My brother has been there for me, dude, through thick and thin, has helped me get through so much, whether it's on a personal level, whether it's financially, and I was in a financial slump and I needed him. He never hesitated to help me, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So he agreed to put the car in his the vehicle in his garage.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks go by, and I have state police at my house.
Saw that coming.
They're at my house. Well, before the state police came to my house, a couple days prior, the previous owner called me. He's like, dude, what's going on? I had cops come to my house trying to arrest me for a hit and run. Because remember how I told you it's still his plate.
Yeah, because the license plate's still on.
And I hadn't changed the registration and whatnot.
Wow.
So he told me, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I sold the car as soon as you gave it to me. It might have been the new owner. Because I never took it to Secretary of State to change it to my name. I claimed that I just sold
that's
it.
Smart. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was planned out.
Yeah, I see that. I'm like, that's kind of smart.
I'm like, listen, I sold the car to somebody else. Maybe he didn't register under his name yet either. Mm-hmm. Anyways, the point I'm trying to get to, they get to my house, bro, and then the state police comes to my house. They tell me, listen, you're wanted for a hit and run. You better give us the details of how it happened and own up to it, la da da. I'm like, listen, I don't know what you guys are talking about. The cop told me, he's like, listen, you don't want to cooperate. I'm going to send you a citation for a hit and run straight to your house, and we'll fight this in court. I'm like, go ahead, do that.
Wow.
They send the ticket to the mail. My father finds out about it. And my dad is the most law-abiding citizen there possibly is. He told me, listen, son, you're going to have to get you a lawyer. You're going to have to admit to this. And whatever happens, happens. You know, you're not going to run away from it. Dad, it's been about 4 or 5 months. Like, I'm already halfway. No.
4 or 5 months after the incident happened?
Yeah.
Wow, man, I thought this was like a few days after.
No, dude, this was months after. Minimum of 2 months, if not 4.
Wow. Jeez.
He tells me, listen, you're going to have to take it to court. You're going to have to fess up to it. We're going to get you a lawyer. And I got the case dismissed, dude. I got the whole entire case dismissed.
I want to ask how, but I don't know how.
Listen, man.
That's only God. That's only God.
I swear to God, I walked out of that courtroom, and it wasn't even multiple court sessions either, dude.
Well, that's so dope.
It was one session. I walked in there. The judge did the lawyer did most of the talking. He already had some rapport with the judge in that courtroom. And dude, like I said, the charge was dismissed. Moral of the story is, one, listen to your damn parents.
Man, what?
You know what I'm saying?
I wish I listened to them in so many situations. So many, bro.
Your parents, even though it might seem like, oh, they don't know what I'm going.
They know what's best.
They know what's best.
They do. They've been here longer than you. And although times change, times don't change that much.
The principles don't change.
Principles don't change, yep.
And
wow, jeez.
This goes crazy, dude. I listened to my dad, and like I said, case dismissed, dude. I was able to get the car back and salvage what I can from it. You know what I mean? And this just goes back to what I was saying about the way that our fathers brought us up, man. My dad never laid hands on me except for 3 different occasions, and God knows I deserved it.
I was about to say, that's the difference between us. My mom and my daddy beat me, but I deserved it. I'm not gonna lie.
Let me tell you, the beatings were 3 times, but I would hope that he beat me every single time I got in trouble instead of scolding me. And
really?
Yes, dude.
His skull, he must have been saying some pretty.
Dude, my dad is a very drill sergeant type of dude.
Oh.
Emotions not on his sleeve. You know, I just had one of the deepest conversations I've ever had with my dad not even 2 weeks ago, dude. And literally touched base on some of the things that happened growing up and the way that he raised me. And I just had to let him know that, listen, I know that the lack of you showing love growing up wasn't because you didn't love me, but it was because that's the way that you knew best to raise me.
Bro, I'm sorry, but your father sounds... It's honestly kind of giving me goosebumps. See the book? Look, bro. Yeah, see the goosebump? It's how similar our lives are, and especially our fathers. Because my father is just like that. He will never put his hands on me,
but he'll scold you.
But he will talk to me, and the way he talks, it's so genuinely strict.
And deep and strong.
Man,
that's why I tell you, I would have rather him at least beat beat me.
You right.
And then kind of feel guilty for beating me.
You right.
You know what I mean? Oh, like you already beat me. Rather than sit there and give me a deep life lesson in such a, like, I wouldn't call it a demeaning way,
but a way that you can't ignore, and that's what
that lingers in your mind for days and weeks after you had that conversation.
You trying to forget it, and his voice just pops up, and you be at work like that's. But I can't lie, he a blessing.
100%, man, and that's something that I reached out to him the other week, and I had to let him know how much I appreciate.
Wait, man, I want to say something to you. Please because do. As you guys know, I just had my mom and my father on FaceTime, and they were literally cheering me on because I don't think that you guys could see it because but they were like, wow, Hunter, and this, that, Hunter, and they were so proud. Wow. And my mom and my father my mom just sent me, still watching this podcast, very proud of you for your honesty, transparency, and validity. Life is truly a journey and not a destination, but God. And then my father says, man, he does not give compliments. So I know when he says
my dad too, bro.
He does not. Too. He don't care if you save the world from hunger.
Dude.
He will be all like, and just walk away. But he says, Hunt, well done. Really powerful and thoughtful. Thank you for your acknowledgement to your mom and me. An unexpected delight. Appreciate being invited, Dad.
Dude, those messages from
just right now, yep,
means the world to you, dude.
Man, what? Never delete them, ever.
100%. Same thing goes for me and my dad. The conversation that we had, it was over WhatsApp, dude. Because I find it so hard to, like, there's not a lack of communication between my father because for the past 5-6 months, he's been overseas. So I try to call him twice a week, 3 times a week. But ever since I started this project, because of the fact that you said, even if they see you saving the world, they're just going to... I never wanted to talk to him because I felt like he'd demoralize me about doing this. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to lie, bro. It's really tough. Like, one thing that I've learned about people is they have their own way of going through things. Like, they have their own way of accepting and remorse and apologetic. They have their own way. And sometimes as people, we get so accustomed to people reacting a certain way that when somebody reacts similarly, even though that's not their intention, we have a misconception of that.
Of the true meaning behind what you're trying to say.
My father, he'll see me doing 100 billion successful stuff. But just because he doesn't show the type of love that I'm anticipating doesn't mean that that's not the type of love he's trying to give out.
100%. And that's what I've come to know through the conversations with my father recently as well. And one thing that he told me, he's like, because I acknowledged to him that I gave him a hard time growing up, and that he, you know, that the lack of love also played a little role into the kind of person I turned out to be, but I appreciate it. And that he ended up telling me, he's like, you were how you were, and I was how I was. Basically trying to imply that you were the person who you were at the time, and I was the type of person I was at the time because of the circumstances that we were put in.
Okay, yeah.
And basically he told me that, you know, it wasn't because of a lack of love. He did admit though, he's like, I love you very dearly, but we both know that your mother loves and cares for you a lot more than I do.
It's so funny. Like, I've learned that just to sort of kind of follow what I just said said previously, I've learned that people react differently.
100%.
But with that, it does take probably somebody of our intuitive stature to be able to differentiate that. Like, your father not applauding you or giving you accolades for something that you became successful in is a lot different than a random man or a random guy not giving you accolades for whatever. You understand your father's not doing it because he may be a certain way or he was brought up. But when that random person doesn't support you or supports you the same way that your father does, you kind of take it as something entirely different, even though this person and your father's reasons for doing it are similar. And I said all that to say most decisions are internal. Most reactions are internal. Most assumptions are internal. Most, not all, but like 75 to 80% of them. And I really got to watch myself. I do it all the time to where I'm very good at sort of kind of making 2 + 2 = 4. And I'm very good at showing people that 2 + 2 = 4. But just because 2 + 2 = 4 over here doesn't mean 2 + 2 = 4 over here. I know it sounds like, well, what? But
this kind of, to make your point clear,
yeah,
that
please.
one picture that I seen that it shows 2 people standing on opposite sides of a 6.
Yep.
One person is adamantly convinced that it's a 6.
Another one
trying to convince the
9.
other side that's looking at it and telling you, no, it's a 9, that, yo, it's a 6. It's all on the perspective that you see things.
Thank you for clearing that up for me. Thank you.
100%. I knew exactly what you were trying to say about that. I feel like we've been having an amazing, great conversation, dude.
This is dope, bro.
I want you to tell people what you currently do as a side project as well. Hunter has, at least for as long as I've known him, has had his own home cooking service.
Yes, sir.
And the food that he posts, dude, even though I'm yet to try it, I'm still definitely
gotta try it, man.
100%, dude. I swear to God, it's on the horizon.
For sure.
Looks like some amazing, healthy food.
Thank you. Yes, it is healthy.
And healthy and tasty don't really correlate.
They do not, but I will make them correlate.
He makes it correlate, dude. So for anybody watching this, where do you service to mainly?
To Detroit on the west side and Dearborn on the west side. I also create halal meals for people who are spiritually endowed and they don't want to go to a regular grocery store. I will go to a halal grocery store and purchase your meals for you and cook them the way you know that you would want in the appropriate fashion. The food that I create is usually for hard gainers and for people who like to lose weight. And I'm also a personal trainer on the side. But yeah, man, those are 2 things that I take very seriously. I do them every day from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. And
the reason why I put that out there too is because Hunter is someone who lives by what he says.
Yes, sir.
So if you're looking for some great, genuine food that's made from the heart, you know, he eats the food that he gives as well. He's not like restaurants that make food and they don't eat over there because they know what happens. I'm sure you eat the food that you cook as well.
I do. Yes, sir. I go to the grocery store. Sometimes I even watch them prepare it in the back just to make sure that they're doing a good job. Dang it, man. I was about to say something really quick and sly, but I forgot. Yeah. HuntsKitchen.
Yep.
I am on Instagram on HuntsKitchen. Instagram is my only social media available to you guys right now. HuntsKitchen, HUNTS. The word kitchen, 1_.
Great. I had to put that out there in the personal training as well. That's
Correct.
Another thing that he does himself. He obviously has the results to prove that he knows what he's doing.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to make you get up and take your shirt off.
No, thank you, because I'm sore from this morning, if you want to be honest.
Hey, so if you're also looking for consistent results in the gym and you're someone who doesn't have the push to be able to do it on their own or at least needs a couple of sessions in order to get on the right track, I'm sure you could reach out to Hunter at HuntsKitchen and he'd be more than willing to help you as well.
I would love to. Get at me, tap me in.
Please do. Hunter, before we wrap this up, dude, I want to give you the floor.
Sure.
Say anything that's on your mind, something that you feel like would benefit the viewers and something that you want to say. You know, the floor is yours. No specific topic.
Sure.
I'm sure you're a man of many words, so I'll give you this chance to however you want to have it be put.
I actually have one thought.
Please.
I am a man of many words. My mother, she used to make me read the dictionary when I was younger. I know that's weird, but that's like sort of kind of why.
Enhanced your vocabulary. That's something I focus on too, bros.
She.
Before you continue on that, vocabulary, dude. People. That's another thing. People think, oh, this guy's trying to sound too.
I'm not.
No, dude.
That's how I
speak.
talk.
You know what I mean? I'm not acting. That's literally how I talk.
I'm really not, man. I be at home talking to people like it's.
And in a way that you would talk on camera, or it's just the way that you talk, and it gives off a better, I wouldn't say professional. But why not?
Appeal.
If you're able to present yourself in a more approachable, presentable manner,
why wouldn't
you? Continue. You said your mom used to make you read the dictionary.
I literally have that. So many people ask me, why do I talk like that? Oh, okay. This is something I want to kind of share, and it's going to come to an extreme surprise to you. Probably a surprise. It comes to a surprise to everyone. So, you ready?
Go ahead. Let me hear it.
My father was a stutterer.
He had a stuttering issue.
Correct. Speech impediment.
Okay.
Not like a every now and then or
it's a legitimate
period.
speech
Like
impediment.
legitimate every single word, every single
And he's a
sentence.
preacher.
He's a preacher. It's hereditary.
Ah.
So his father had it, he had it, and I had it. From elementary school to high school, guess what I did? Stuttered my ass off. Couldn't talk to women, couldn't raise my hand in the classroom to ask a question. I guarantee you we could not have this type of conversation when I was 19 through 22 or whatever. What I really want people to understand is that stuttering is a inhibitor. You'll do it so much, meaning that it won't allow you to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make friends.
Mm-hmm.
You can barely talk to women.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything. And a lot of people look at that like, man, but you're just, no.
It really prevents you.
It really, and to a extreme degree, it depreciates your confidence. It depreciates your integrity because people are always sort of kind of on the fence about the shit you're saying because it sounds like exactly. When I was 22, I was like, you know what? And I'm gonna say this on purpose. Fuck this. I said, fuck this. I enrolled myself into a speech impediment class where it was like low key on some special education stuff.
It takes a lot, dude, for it to come from within.
Bro, what?
Continue. I'm sure, but that's because you were devoted and wanted the change, bro. And when you want to change, you have to take it upon yourself to make that change.
Nobody's gonna come help you, and that's what.
Especially as grown men, dude.
Bro, what? I was 22 doing this shit, and I'm 26 now.
Dude.
I was 22, from 13 to 22. I could not speak, bro. This was not me at all. Like, I really want you to get this so hard. Like, if you ain't get into it, I want you to get this. I was talked about. I was bullied. People used to bully me like, he can't talk. Like, I was bullied. I went to summer school, completely separate from like the regular high school curriculum that everybody else was getting taught just to take. Man, I took speech classes. I put myself in positions very much like this one where I had to stand up in front of 50 people, 100 people. I had jobs where I put myself in position where I had to coach baseball, man, because I used to play baseball and run track. I would teach. I'm 26 now and I tell people that and they drop their jaw.
Because it doesn't seem like
they drop their jaw. They be all like, nigga, or sorry. No, you're good. They be all like, bro, the way you speak, the tenacity, the way that you can govern your vocal cords, your vocabulary, and I'll be all like, you think I did this? Like, that's, dude, bro, real talk.
What was one thing I told you on our way here, on our drive here? I said, some people die before they're ever even able to make a change in their lives, whether that is spiritually, whether some people would die with that speech impediment, dude.
I've seen it, bro. I've come into contact with people at the gym
who have that same,
who 40, 50. Hey, how are you? And I'm just sitting there like, damn, bro. Like, I'm not the type of, because I really do hate bullies. And I'm gonna say this: I hate HATE. I hate them. I say hate specifically for I don't like bullies at all. Period. And people are 40, bro. 50, 60, like reaching the latter years of their life, like stuttering hard. And all I could do is sort of kind of, because you know how we just had mentioned, like you can't help everybody. You can't be a light worker for everybody. You can't be an inspiration for everybody. That's hard on me, bro.
It's knowing that you're not able to really.
That's hard as hell on me. That's stuff like that. Like, I can handle death. I can handle disease. I can handle guns. I can handle blood. I can handle a lot of, like,
do some things.
Really vicious, ferocious shit. But just seeing a honest, genuine, good-hearted person going through some shit that's inhibiting them from living the lifestyle that they want to live, I damn near cry, bro. Like, I legitimately damn near cry because I'm like, bro, you could be so much, bro.
Make you cry, but at the same time, bro, should make you grateful because that could have been you.
Could have.
If you didn't commit to making that change and enrolling yourself in that speech impediment class, that could have been you, dude.
And it was for years too.